Okay. So we're at Sauna Days 2023. Who am I speaking with?
Jeff Pyzyk. I live just south of Port Washington, Wisconsin, and drove 6.5 hours up here for Sauna Days. So,
okay, Jeff, we appreciate you making the trip up here. I've followed Jeff quite a bit here in the last couple of years. I'm really, I gravitate to his Kuuma story and the way he likes a sauna. So, Jeff, could you just explain your sauna process, your ritual?
Sure. I built my own wood-burning sauna 7 years ago, approximately. I got into sauna in 1998, about 25 years ago, and the first sauna I built was an electric sauna at our lake home, but I decided I wanted to have a wood burner, and I was following Glenn Auerbach's saunatimes.com and thought that the Kuuma stove looked like a really good option for me. So when I built my sauna about 7 years ago, I bought a Kuuma stove, and I'm very happy that I did, because it's a really heavy stove with a fire brick lined fire chamber. It's made of really heavy steel. I got a medium stove for my sauna, which has an 8x8 hot room, and I'm very happy with the product, and I use it every day. Almost 7 days a week.
Why don't you elaborate on, your daily routine, like you were telling me yesterday? Just explain to me how you use it.
I typically will start the stove at in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock, something like that, and it takes I stuff the stove pretty much full of wood, when I first started, so it takes about an hour and a half to get up to 180 degrees. And I like to sauna at a high temperature. I typically sauna at 210, 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit, or even a little higher. So typically then I'll throw a couple more pieces of wood in the stove before I go in, and then I will shut down the air intake so it's about a quarter open, and I actually have on the chimney, I have a damper on my chimney, so I'll shut that down to just barely open. So when I go in, it's usually 190 plus, and I like to sauna at a very high temperature, more of a dry sort of approach to it. And I typically will go in for 15 minutes, and then I cold plunge in between my sauna rounds. And the stove will, once I go in, the stove will stay hot at 210 plus Fahrenheit for 2 hours without touching it, without even putting any wood in the stove. And I have the backsplash behind my stove. The corner of my sauna has a slate walls behind the stove, and it really just holds the heat. It's very consistent from corner to corner, from floor to ceiling. The temperature is very consistent. My feet are never cold. It's just like a wall of heat in there, and it's the stove will burn any kind of wood you throw into it. You don't have to worry about wet pieces of wood or how big the pieces are necessarily. I like to throw a couple.
Is that important to you?
Yes, it is, and it holds a 16-inch piece of wood very easily, even longer, depending on, if you move it a little bit so it fits in there. So you don't have to worry about having small little pieces of firewood in there. And, the top plate on that stove is so thick, it's going to last. It'll last more than my lifetime. So
how often do you use it?
I use it about 7 days a week. Sometimes, sometimes I miss a day.
Yeah.
Or,
I was going to guess 5, but hey, 5 to 7 is a pretty doggone using it on a regular basis.
I figure I've probably taken over 2,000 saunas with that stove at a very high temperature, and it's just broken in.
So when you're saying, and I'm learning about the slate too, and I think that being that here at Larsmont this week, they have on property, I really like their sauna too, from a mass perspective on the walls and stuff. And I do think that when you're saying high and dry, I think having that extra mass in there with the slate probably really enhances the stove to operate the way you like it under those conditions.
Yeah, the thermal mass is very important, I think, just in terms of consistent temperature. And what I like about the Kuuma stove is the fire chamber is lined with fire brick. It's very efficient in terms of the burn. I mean, you don't have a lot of smoke coming out after the first 20 minutes or so of when you fire the stove up. So it burns clean, it burns hot, it burns anything. The temperature stays consistent over time, and it stays consistent horizontally and vertically within the sauna itself. So
I've seen pictures of you with family members in there sauning with a lot of kids, maybe grandkids over there doing it. Like, are you teaching them the sauna practice right now? What is that like?
Well, I have 3 kids, and all 3 of my kids like to sauna. So even though I'm not of Finnish heritage, I'm passing on that Finnish tradition to my kids, and they enjoy it. So my son is, I have a tent sauna, and he's got it set up in his yard now. He wants to build his own, real wood-burning sauna, and I think he'll probably opt for a Kuuma stove.
Well, we'd appreciate that. Is there anything else you would like to share about? What would you like to see in sauna, across the country over the next 5 years?
It's pretty remarkable coming here up to the Duluth area to see all these people here that are involved in sauna and are passionate about it. And I see like a big wave of popularity when it comes to thermal culture in general, and people now doing cold plunge, and people doing sauna and cold plunge together. And there's so many health benefits obviously to it, but I think the biggest benefit is really mental health. I think it helps, with your emotional state, your general mental health, and I think we have a mental health crisis here in the country now, especially after COVID. So in my view, I think a sauna would help a lot of people in terms of just, daily living and kind of having a relaxed, state of mind. It helps me relax every day. Well,
I think you really just said some important stuff right there, and I think that's what's going to happen with sauna across the country. But the relaxation thing is a big thing, and when you're saying a mental health crisis, there's a lot of studies out there right now saying the same exact thing. So if people are able to, like me, I get a little bit more clarity when I get out of there, the relaxation feeling, and so incorporating that into a daily or multiple times a week routine, I think has a lot of benefits to it as well.
Yep, I believe so, and I think it's going to keep spreading. It's amazing the people that are here. Someone from Utah, Arizona,
Maryland,
someone from the Yukon territory. Yep. I mean, there's people from all over the place. There's people here from other countries. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, and then, so to me, I gravitate, I love seeing people getting more involved in sauna now, but I really love the authenticity of people that have been involved in this for a long time. And that's why I've loved your story. Obviously I follow Glenn's stuff a lot, but, you guys are really at the forefront of starting this and help get this revolution going across the country. So it's really awesome to me to be able to spend a few minutes with you, and we appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Safe, efficient, clean, Kuuma.